"Take that fake badge off right now." The shout echoed through the crowded shopping mall so loudly that people stopped walking. Near the center escalator, a 17-year-old black teenager slowly raised his hands while dozens of strangers turned to stare. Around his neck hung a blue credential badge with bold yellow letters printed across the front, FBI Youth Leadership Academy. Officer Ryan Mercer snatched the badge so hard the plastic clip snapped against the teenager's chest. "You think this is funny?" Mercer barked. "Walking around pretending to be federal law enforcement?" The teenager swallowed once, but kept his voice calm. "Sir, my name is Elijah Carter. The badge is real." Mercer laughed directly in his face. "Yeah? And I'm the director of the FBI." A few nervous people nearby chuckled awkwardly before falling silent again. Elijah stood still, trying not to make the situation worse. But what Officer Mercer didn't know was that in less than 20 minutes, Secret Service agents would lock down the entire mall, searching for the teenager he had just publicly humiliated. Earlier that morning, Elijah Carter woke up before sunrise inside a small apartment in Baltimore. The first thing he saw was the folded American flag sitting on the shelf beside his desk. It had belonged to his father, Sergeant Daniel Carter, a military police officer killed overseas when Elijah was only 9 years old. Ever since then, Elijah carried one dream everywhere he went. He wanted to serve his country the same way his father once had. While most teenagers spent weekends playing games or sleeping late, Elijah spent his time studying criminal justice, volunteering in his neighborhood, and preparing for scholarship interviews. His hard work finally paid off when he earned acceptance into one of the most competitive student programs in the country, the FBI National Youth Leadership Academy. Only a small number of students were selected each year. Federal officials, law enforcement leaders, and national security speakers attended the conference personally. For Elijah, receiving that invitation felt like the first real step toward the future he wanted. He read the acceptance email so many times his mother joked he probably memorized it. Before leaving the apartment that morning, she carefully adjusted the badge hanging around his neck and smiled proudly. "Your father would have loved seeing this day," she whispered. Elijah looked down for a second, trying to hide how nervous he felt. "I just don't want to mess anything up." His mother squeezed his shoulder gently. "You already earned your place there. Never let anybody make you feel like you don't belong." The Grand Central Mall was packed by the time Elijah arrived downtown. Music echoed across the massive building, while shoppers carried bags between bright storefronts and crowded food courts. Holiday decorations hung from the ceiling. Children laughed near the fountain. Elijah stepped inside carefully, taking everything in. Across the upper level, giant banners advertised the National Youth Leadership Conference. Seeing them made his chest tighten with excitement. He adjusted his jacket, checked the badge around his neck one more time, and headed toward the escalator. That was when Officer Ryan Mercer noticed him. Mercer had worked mall security enforcement for over a decade. Tall, broad-shouldered, permanent scowl on his face. The kind of officer who enjoyed making people nervous. Complaints followed him everywhere, but somehow none ever seemed to matter. Mercer leaned against a security kiosk drinking coffee when Elijah walked past. At first, he only glanced at the badge. Then his eyes narrowed. Slowly, he pushed himself away from the counter. "Hey," he called sharply, "stop right there." Elijah immediately stopped walking. "Yes, sir?" Mercer walked directly toward him, staring hard at the credential around Elijah's neck. "Where'd you get that badge?" "It was issued by the conference registration desk, sir." "Take it off." Elijah hesitated briefly before carefully removing the credential and handing it over. Mercer looked at it for maybe 2 seconds before scoffing loudly. "This thing looks fake." Elijah stayed calm. "It isn't fake, sir." Mercer ignored him completely. "FBI Youth Academy?" He laughed openly now. "You kids really think people are stupid." A few nearby shoppers started paying attention. Elijah felt uncomfortable but kept his voice respectful. "Sir, if there's a misunderstanding, I can show you my registration information." Mercer stepped closer until they were almost chest to chest. "You trying to tell me the FBI handed some random teenager federal credentials?" Elijah answered carefully. "I earned my invitation." Something about that response irritated Mercer even more. His jaw tightened instantly. "You earned it?" he repeated mockingly. "What, through TikTok?" A couple people nearby laughed nervously again. Elijah lowered his eyes briefly, but didn't react emotionally. "Sir, please contact the conference coordinator upstairs. They can confirm everything." Instead, Mercer grabbed Elijah's backpack strap and pulled him sideways away from the escalator. "Don't move." Elijah immediately raised both hands. "Sir, I'm cooperating." More people slowed down now. Several phones quietly came out to record. Another security guard approached carefully from nearby. Younger, less aggressive. "Everything okay here?" Mercer held up the badge between two fingers. "Got a kid carrying fake federal credentials." Elijah shook his head immediately. "They're real." The younger guard studied the badge uncertainly. "It actually looks official." Mercer shot him an irritated look. "And fake IDs look fake now?" He turned back toward Elijah. "You know impersonating federal personnel is a felony, right?" The crowd surrounding them kept growing. Mothers pulled children closer. Teenagers whispered while recording openly now. Elijah's heart pounded hard inside his chest, but outwardly he stayed calm. He remembered his mother's words that morning. "Don't let anybody make you feel like you don't belong." "Officer," Elijah said carefully, "I'm asking respectfully. Please call someone from the conference before this goes further." Mercer suddenly shoved the badge hard against Elijah's chest. "Don't tell me how to do my job." Gasps spread through the crowd. Elijah stumbled backward slightly, but regained his balance immediately. Then Mercer reached for his handcuffs. The entire atmosphere inside the mall changed instantly. Phones lifted higher. People backed away. And somewhere downtown, 3 black SUVs carrying federal agents were already speeding toward the mall entrance. Officer Ryan Mercer grabbed Elijah Carter by the arm and spun him toward the wall beside the escalator. The metal handcuffs snapped tight around the teenager's wrists while shocked shoppers watched from every direction. Several people openly protested now. "He's just a kid." One woman shouted from near the food court. Mercer ignored her completely. "Keep walking." He barked at the crowd before shoving Elijah forward through the center of the mall. Phones followed them everywhere. Elijah tried to stay calm, even as humiliation burned inside his chest. "Sir, I'm not resisting," he said quietly. Mercer leaned close enough for only Elijah to hear. "Then maybe this will teach you not to play dress-up with federal badges." The mall security office sat behind a gray steel door near the employee hallways. Mercer pushed Elijah inside while another security officer locked the door behind them. Surveillance monitors covered one wall, showing live camera feeds from every floor of the building. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The room smelled like old coffee and dust. Mercer removed the FBI badge from Elijah's neck and tossed it carelessly onto the desk. "Sit down." Elijah obeyed immediately, keeping his cuffed hands visible. Another younger security officer looked up nervously from the monitors. "What happened?" Mercer smirked proudly. "Caught this kid pretending to be federal." The younger officer picked up the badge and examined it carefully. His expression shifted slightly. "This actually looks real." Mercer rolled his eyes. "They can fake anything online now." Elijah spoke calmly from the chair. "Sir, there's a number on the back you can call." Mercer ignored him completely and grabbed Elijah's backpack instead. He dumped everything onto the desk. Papers scattered everywhere. Pens rolled across the floor. A framed photo of Elijah and his mother landed face up beside the keyboard. Mercer picked up a sealed envelope stamped with official conference markings. "What's this?" Elijah answered immediately. "My invitation letter." Mercer opened it and scanned the page silently. The younger officer stepped closer. Federal signatures covered the document beside official conference logos. "Ryan," he said carefully, "I think this might actually be connected to the event upstairs." Mercer's face hardened instantly. He hated being questioned, especially by someone younger. You think I don't know what fake paperwork looks like? He pointed toward Elijah. These scammers rehearse this stuff. Elijah shook his head slowly. I'm not scamming anyone. Mercer slammed the papers back onto the table. Then, why are you walking around with federal credentials? Elijah looked directly at him. Because they gave them to me. Upstairs inside the conference ballroom, federal coordinators were preparing the morning program. Students filled rows of seats while officials from the FBI, Department of Justice, and Secret Service reviewed schedules near the stage. One event coordinator checked attendance lists repeatedly before frowning. Elijah Carter still hasn't checked in. Another staff member looked up. Maybe he got lost? The coordinator shook her head slowly. His badge entered the building 40 minutes ago. She opened the event tracking system and froze. Elijah's credential signal showed active near restricted employee corridors downstairs. That's strange, she muttered before quickly grabbing her phone. Back inside the security office, Mercer paced confidently in front of Elijah like he had already solved the case. You know how many fake cops we catch every year? He asked. Kids pretending to be military. Pretending to be federal, pretending to matter. Elijah lowered his eyes briefly, but stayed calm. I've never pretended to be anything. Mercer laughed harshly. You expect me to believe the FBI recruited some teenager from Baltimore? The room went quiet. Even the younger security officer looked uncomfortable after hearing that. Elijah slowly lifted his head again. I earned my place there. Mercer stepped closer immediately. No. He snapped. You people always think the rules don't apply to you. The younger officer finally spoke more firmly. Ryan, maybe we should verify the documents before this gets worse. Mercer slammed both hands onto the desk so hard the monitor shook. Worse? He barked. The only mistake would be letting him go if he's lying. Elijah sat silently while Mercer grabbed the badge again. Last chance, the officer growled. Tell me where you got this fake credential. Elijah looked him directly in the eyes. Sir, you're making a very serious mistake. At that exact moment, 3 black SUVs moved through downtown traffic less than 10 minutes away from the mall. Their dark windows reflected flashing city lights as they pushed through intersections without slowing down. Inside the lead vehicle, Secret Service agents reviewed emergency conference alerts on a secure tablet. Elijah Carter's registration photo glowed on the screen beside a warning notification. Conference staff says local security detained him, one agent reported. The driver tightened his grip on the steering wheel. For what? The agent looked down again. Apparently somebody accused him of carrying fake federal credentials. Silence filled the SUV for 2 long seconds before the driver reached for the radio. All units move faster. Meanwhile, videos from the mall confrontation were already exploding online. One clip showed Mercer handcuffing Elijah near the escalator while shoppers argued in the background. Another showed Elijah calmly trying to explain himself while Mercer shouted over him. Comments flooded every upload within minutes. Thousands of viewers pointed out the same thing. The teenager never once acted aggressive. Inside the office, tension kept building. The younger security officer quietly searched the conference online from his computer. Everything matched. Same logos, same names, same federal agencies. His face slowly turned pale. Ryan, he whispered carefully, this conference is real. Mercer opened his mouth to respond, but suddenly one of the surveillance monitors caught everyone's attention. The front entrance of the mall burst open as armed federal agents entered rapidly from multiple directions. Shoppers stopped moving. Security guards stepped aside instantly. Radios crackled across the building. And leading the group toward mall security was a tall Secret Service agent with one question already echoing through his earpiece. Who detained Elijah Carter? The atmosphere inside the security office collapsed instantly. Every surveillance monitor showed federal agents moving through the mall with sharp, controlled urgency. Shoppers stepped out of the way while security guards backed against walls, unsure what to do. Officer Ryan Mercer stared at the screens as panic slowly replaced the confidence on his face. The younger security officer swallowed hard. Ryan, those are Secret Service agents. Before Mercer could respond, 3 hard knocks slammed against the office door. The door opened immediately. 2 Secret Service agents entered first, followed by Assistant Director Marcus Hale from the FBI Youth Leadership Division. The moment Hale saw Elijah sitting handcuffed in the chair, his expression turned ice cold. "Remove those cuffs," he said sharply. Mercer tried to recover his authority. "Sir, this teenager was detained for carrying fake federal credentials." Hale looked at the badge on the desk, then back at Mercer in disbelief. "Fake?" He stepped closer. "That badge was issued directly by the Federal Youth Leadership Conference this morning." Silence filled the room. Mercer's face lost color immediately. One of the Secret Service agents unlocked Elijah's cuffs while another official checked the documents scattered across the desk. Hale turned toward Mercer again. "Did he resist you?" Mercer hesitated. "No." "Did he threaten anyone?" "No." Hale's voice became even colder. Then explain why a 17-year-old honor student was publicly humiliated in front of an entire shopping mall. Mercer opened his mouth, but no answer came out. Outside the office, phones recorded everything as mall administrators rushed into the hallway. Within minutes, Mercer's security badge, radio, and keys were removed in front of dozens of staring employees. The same officer who had marched Elijah through the mall in handcuffs now stood silent while federal agents questioned him. Nearby shoppers whispered the same thing again and again. The kid was telling the truth. Assistant Director Hale turned back toward Elijah. His tone softened immediately. "Son, are you all right?" Elijah rubbed the red marks on his wrists and nodded quietly. "Yes, sir." Hale handed him the credential badge carefully. "You handled yourself better than many trained adults would have." Elijah looked down at the badge for a moment before answering softly, "I just didn't want things to get worse." That evening, videos of the incident spread across social media and national news. Millions watched the footage of Elijah remaining calm while Mercer escalated the situation again and again. But one question appeared under almost every video online. What if federal agents never arrived? Later that night, Elijah finally entered the conference ballroom. The room stood and applauded as he walked inside. Students, federal officials, and instructors clapped loudly while cameras flashed across the stage. Elijah looked overwhelmed, but he kept walking calmly until Assistant Director Hale stopped beside him and spoke into the microphone. "Respect," Hale said firmly, "should never depend on someone's race, age, or appearance. And today proved exactly why accountability matters. Now, we want to hear from you. If Elijah had been just another teenager without cameras, witnesses, or federal officials searching for him, do you think justice would have still happened? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. And subscribe for more powerful stories where the truth refuses to stay silent.